Welcome back to 7th Grade Mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about unlawful. The Fourth Amendment protects us from unreasonable search and seizures of our person, our house, our papers, and our effects. In many cases, the amendment governs our interactions with the police. Before the government, including police officers, can search your home or seize your property, it needs a good reason to do so. What the prosecutors will argue is that interaction between the police and the citizen was not a seizure, but a voluntary encounter. The Fourth Amendment originally enforce the notion that each man's home is his castle, secure from unreasonable searches and seizures of property by the government, and it protects people against arbitrary arrests, and it's the basis of law regarding search warrants, stop and frisk, safety inspections, wiretaps, and other forms of surveillance.
Back in the day, when we weren't individuals, we were our own country individually. So that was part of that. Remember when a guy would have like a showdown at the OK Corral, or you would have a duel? Why didn't the government get involved when you killed somebody? Because there were two separate entities that were hashing out a dispute, like two countries. What's the word they use?
That goes back to admiralty law.
That's before that. There's another
No. But I understand that, but see, being sovereign is related to admiralty law. See, what they do is they speak about it without speaking about it.
Yes.
Just enough so you think like, oh, they're using a big S word, so that means it's important.
It sounds official, so you don't question it. But the reason that Fourth Amendment was so important is because you and the government were on equal terms, is what I was referring to. The government wasn't greater than you. The government was just another person coming to you, and you're like, I ain't got to talk to you, that kind of thing. And that's what the Fifth is for, when you plead the Fifth, self-incrimination. But that's what it is. Back then, you were considered equal to the government.
So everybody listening to this show either owns or has owned a vehicle at some time. So that vehicle is an extension of you and your rights as an American citizen. When you're driving in your car, you're doing you, you're living your life. Now that can manifest in all different types of ways. Playing your music, carrying what is considered contraband, or as we call it, riding dirty. Doing things that may bring attention to yourself by people who are tax collectors and want to write tickets and incarcerate people who want to put you into the military industrial complex and make more money from you endlessly. You know, there's this old saying in the hood, once you're in the system, you're in the system and you can't get out.
The tax collector part, I don't think people really understand what you were saying. When they write you a ticket, say for instance, you don't have your plates on your vehicle, what do they write you a ticket for? Tax evasion. Literally what that ticket tells you is tax evasion, and then you need to go correct that situation. That means that they want you to pay taxes. So
you will render unto Caesar.
Yes. What my brother just told you is that these police are tax collectors and not about justice or whatever. And even the police officers in the beginning was about catching slaves and recovering a property. So the idea that law and just now, look, also the other thing that we always hear about, defund the police. I don't know if I'm for it or against it, but the issue with defunding the police is that I find it strange that these conservatives don't like the idea of defunding the police, but they hate the idea of socialism. Aren't the police socialists? And the reason that you defund them is that because with any situation, when somebody's not performing properly, you stop supporting them. We're not saying get rid of the police. We're saying that if they don't do a good job, they kill too many black folks, they beat up too many women, they rape too many women, that all of a sudden their money should go down and their behavior will change. That's what that's about. It's not about getting rid of police or getting rid of law or order or none of that shit. It's about holding them accountable, and then when they improve their behavior, stop harassing people. Last time you got stopped by the police, what did they say to you? Like, hey man, it's a holiday. We got grant money. That means they got federal money to pull people over.
Dude, I was driving through Tennessee last week, and man, when I tell you there was a cop every 3 miles pulling somebody over.
They got grant money.
It was ridiculous.
And okay, you're told that they don't have quotas and all that kind of shit. Okay, I dig it. But when the feds want things in line, they give those police forces grant money to issue overtime and officers. Only reason I know this because a cop told me. I got pulled over. I had my white homeboy with me, and the guy goes, "Hey, I'm sorry. I just bought the vehicle. I was literally taking the vehicle to the DMV or the Treasury Department, excuse me. He's right outside the Treasury Department. He's like, hey, man, I'm sorry for pulling you over, but we got a big grant, so we got to do this stuff. Go ahead. Have a good day, sir." I'm like.
But you know what, though? Like, that reminds me of that Dave Chappelle joke where he's with his white friend, he gets pulled over. I didn't know I couldn't do that, officer.
I said that joke first years ago with a white friend in the car. Like, man, He's like, man, just don't worry about it. Like, don't worry about it. And then I realized I stopped being scared. It just, fear is somebody else having power over your emotion. I don't. Yeah.
Emotional content, not anger.
Yeah, it's hard to break that though. But the point we're making is that so much of this shit is still about generating money, and these officers aren't about justice. And if that's the case, then, how come every time you turn around there's an officer raping somebody or some shit like that?
That's abuse of power, but let's get into this some more. So the principal right that controls all police-civilian encounters is the Fourth Amendment, right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. It's essentially the right to be left alone. The stopping of a vehicle is a seizure of your vehicle and your person, and therefore officers have to fulfill certain legal obligations in order to detain you. They can't just stop you and harass you, even though they sometimes do, legally without reasonable suspicion that crime has occurred or is occurring. However, if they have reached that threshold of reasonable suspicion, they do have the right to conduct a temporary investigative detention. So if police see somebody doing what they believe is a violation of a traffic law, they have the right to stop you, detain you, but they only have the right to detain you for the time that is necessary to execute the duties relating to the investigation of the traffic incident. For the detention to extend beyond that point, there needs to be additional reasonable suspicion to prolong the detention or probable cause to eventually arrest you. If an officer tells you to pull over, you're required to pull over. Whether or not they're acting lawfully is a secondary question. Now, there are different laws throughout the country regarding some of these issues. So right now we're talking about general constitutional principles, not specific state laws.
And the reason he brings that up, the example I was going to give was this dude, he's getting pulled over by the police. He didn't feel safe stopping at that point for whatever reason. Now, in Nebraska, they don't trip. You find a well-lit parking lot, that's their law. But in Florida, if you keep going, that's what the term, evading an officer, that becomes the charge. That's literally another charge. Even when this guy was like, hey, I didn't feel safe stopping right there. And, cop went nuts. I think in the end, the guy ended up suing. And the court found it like, yeah, it was reasonable. The guy just moved, if he was trying to get away from you, he would have kept going. He simply pulled to a spot.
What state was that in?
Florida. Mm-hmm. The reason is kind of questionable. The guy was a counselor. He was leaving a client's house. He didn't want his client to see him get pulled over.
So whenever I get pulled over and I'm in an area that looks like it could be a problem, what I do is I roll my window down and I stick my hand out the window and I'm giving semaphore signal saying I'm going down and I'm going to the right. And I'm pointing
to the left, right.
I'm pointing down and to the right. I'm saying I'm going this way. So he can see me signaling. You know what I'm saying? It was like, we're going this way. Yeah. I'm like, I understand what you're trying to do, but we're going to do this over here. I've done it a couple of times and it wasn't a problem. He's like, all right, I see what you did. I was like, yes, because I want you to know we're going to go over here I'm pulling over here. And I'm going to stop right here in the middle of everything. Sandra Bland. Okay, in 2015, all right, died under suspicious circumstances in a jail and under police custody. They said she hung herself, but this is where everything went wrong. When she got pulled over, she was pulled over for some type of traffic violation, and then the officer told her to get out of the vehicle. Then she gets out of the vehicle. Everything up to that point is fine, but then he tells her to put out her cigarette. Now, there was nothing unlawful about her smoking a cigarette. So the problem is that the officer he abused his power because
overstepped his bounds. Yes.
He abused his power by telling her to put out a cigarette because there was nothing unlawful about her smoking a cigarette outside the vehicle. So he messed up. And that is what caused the encounter to escalate. So what happened is she failed what people in legal circles and law enforcement call the attitude test. The attitude test is that when you get pulled over, if you're confrontational, you fail the attitude test. If you are showing compliance, you pass the attitude test. So she failed the attitude test when she refused to comply with his unlawful demand to put out the cigarette. She was actually not in the wrong by refusing that, but he thought that he had unquestionable power to make her put out the cigarette. Because here's another thing. They had already completed the investigation for the traffic incident. At that point, she was free to go. She was free to go because she complied and did everything that he asked regarding the traffic stop. At that point, all he had to do was write her a ticket and let her go, but he didn't. And so she felt that she was within her rights to deny his request or his command to put out the cigarette, which she did. And then it escalated, and he got physical with her and then took her into custody. And then she died by what they call a hanging in her jail cell. So this is the part I understand is like when you're taken to a jail cell in like an average sized town, there's other people in there. So if there's other people in there.
Nobody saw anything?
Yeah, nobody saw anything. It's sort of like she was in there by herself completely. This must have been some tiny ass podunk fucking town where this happened. Where she was in the cell by herself and she had enough materials. She had an Ace Hardware store in there where she can get rope or something to hang herself with. Anyway.
Yeah. And the point he's making is like Mayberry. So yeah, 2 cells, and there was nobody else around.
Nobody
saw anything.
Nobody saw
no
anything.
Surveillance. No.
She was the only person in the jail. Come on, man. Not if you stop motherfuckers like that and you want to bring them in refusing to put out a cigarette. Oh, you've arrested a lot of motherfuckers. So the family wound up getting $1.9 million in a wrongful arrest suit. I'm drawing attention to 2 things: the attitude test, and then also the length of the temporary detention that takes place when they detain you to assess the severity of the traffic infraction and where they're going to write you a ticket or if there's probable cause to arrest you.
It shouldn't be a death sentence.
Right. But here's the thing, though. You don't have to consent to a search of your vehicle. You can say no. You have the right to refuse them. Here's another thing. If they want to go and get a search warrant, you don't have to stay there. You can leave. Check this out. So a police officer conducting a traffic stop may search your vehicle and seize evidence without a warrant under certain conditions. Here's when vehicle search is illegal. Number 1, when you consent to a search. Number 2, the officer has probable cause to suspect the existence of incriminating evidence in your vehicle. Number 3, the officer reasonably believes that a vehicle search is necessary for his or her own protection. An example, the suspicion of a concealed weapon. And number 4, you have been arrested. Those are the 4 circumstances where they can conduct a search. But going back to number 1 is if you consent. Don't consent. Make it as difficult as possible for them.
I got a situation I kind of half-assed told you about. So I got pulled over by the police last time. I had 2 guns on me. I get pulled over. I was speeding. I was doing 56 at 35. I go to a gas station, get pulled over. I tell the cop, hey, officer, I got 2 weapons on me. Okay. And he's like, cool, no problem. Writes me a ticket for speeding. But let me tell you about the security guard. So the security guard is shining his light in my car because I thought it was another cop. This guy's shining a light in my car. I thought he was a sheriff because he had a different uniform on.
Hold on. Why is the security guard on your car the same time the cop is on your car?
There's a black guy like watching me. He's like, bro, I got your back. He's like, why is that guy shining a light in his car? And I'm thinking it's just another cop because, I'm sitting down in the car. I got to pee. That's why I was speeding. And so I'm just trying to get in the place to go to use the bathroom. The officer said, fine, let me just finish writing your ticket. You can go use the bathroom. And so this guy is shining a light in my car. And the black man, he's like, bruh, stop shining a light in his car. And I'm like, yeah, I think it's another officer because all you see is the uniform. I'm thinking he's an officer. He's not an officer. He's a security guard. That's why the black guy was going off. And I told the officer, can you talk to him? He's like, don't worry. The cop says, that guy doesn't matter. He's like, I don't know why he's doing that. But he's like, focus on me. I'm writing the ticket. I was speeding. But the reason I said something is how I had a big gun in the car. The gun where he's shining his light, he was actually shining a light on my gun. He just couldn't see it because just the way I had it positioned. That being the case, like you said, why is the security guard even getting involved?
Oh, he's on some role-playing shit. That's what the fuck he was doing.
He's cosplaying. But the reason I'm saying something is that if he had seen what he was looking for, he would have alerted that cop. And the cop already knew. I said, officer, I got a gun in my passenger seat. I got a gun in my door. He's like, okay, that's fine. It's legal, And the first thing I do is I hand my license and my concealed carry. And then he asks, where your guns are. I tell him where they are. I said, my hands on the steering wheel. May I get my, get my insurance? That stuff. I got that down pat.
You comply.
But yeah. But this other guy, if he had seen that gun, he would have freaked out because, like I've told you, this was a big ass submachine gun kind of thing. It would have scared him. And he would have wigged out. So I'm glad he didn't see it. But
were either of your guns loaded?
Oh, hell yeah. Of course they were. You know me. I wouldn't have had a gun if it wasn't loaded. But like I said, if that guy had saw it, that thing could have escalated. And that's my point, is that search and seizure, that search shit that my brother's trying to tell you about say no, because all it takes is them seeing something, and they're going to, that was probable cause. That term probable cause is a very broad stroke, and they use that shit. And so, but yeah, there was no reason for that guy to be over there. But again, I had told the truth to the officer. I'm like, hey, I got guns on me, bro.
Were you out west?
No, I was on Saddle Creek.
Oh, wow.
I was leaving the homeboy's house. It was 12 at night, and I was going to stop at the first QT where I used to stay at.
Yeah, right there by the Runza.
Yeah. It's just too many. I hate to say this shit. Runs is gone, but it's just I don't like that one. It's literally too many people there, black, white, or whatever. They're just too many unlawful people. So I went to another QT where
the Quick Trip right there.
Mm-hmm. I went to one that's quieter. There's one down the street, but I was speeding. I'm
is that closer to Dodge when you going talking about?
I passed Dodge, and yes, it's shortly is on the other side of Dodge, like 4 or 5 blocks, like literally right. You're right. Once you pass Dodge on the left, and there was a cop just sitting there, and he got me speeding. So, but like the search and seizure, the searching part is what my brother's trying to tell you. You don't have to submit to that, and the reason you say no is because of stuff like that. All it takes is a cop seeing something. He's going to say that you're doing something unlawful, and you're not.
The reason why we're having this discussion is because we talk a lot on this show about things that affect your life on a world stage, but then it creeps into your life on a personal local stage. Well, it doesn't get any more personal than this. And people listen to this show have encounters with the police all the time. And so it's important that we arm you with the necessary information to protect yourself effectively. So carrying on. All right. So regarding your vehicle search, an officer may ask to search your vehicle without a warrant, even if the officer is not authorized to do so. But people always have the right to say no, and illegal searches can be challenged later in court. But if you consent to a search, however, any evidence obtained may be used against you. In most states, search and seizure rules pertaining to automobiles are not as strict as those relating to one's home. For example, an officer may conduct a warrantless search of those areas immediately within the driver's reach, which includes the glove compartment and the vicinity in the front seat. If the officer suspects weapons or other potential immediate threats, then, of course, they may consider themselves in danger.
That's why it makes such a big deal about my gun situation. But also, don't forget, when it comes to the house, the garage is like another thing, too, especially if your garage is detached, which sounds corny, but if your garage is detached, the burden for searching your garage is not the same as for searching your home.
Yeah, but yes, they're still on your property, though.
Look that shit up. Last time I read an article about that, it had to do with the Supreme Court. If the garage is attached, it's part of the home. But if it's detached, the burden for searching it ain't the same. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's some shit I read many years ago. It may have changed. But it's your property, but they're saying a detached
all right,
garage.
I'm going to build a corridor to connect them to, motherfuckers, then. Then there's also what is known in legal terms as the plain view doctrine. Under the plain view doctrine, officers may lawfully seize evidence of a crime without a search warrant if it's in plain view. For example, if an officer sees a glass pipe with what appears to be drug residue inside in the back seat after stopping a motorist for running a red light, the officer may seize the pipe. The officer may also lawfully conduct a warrantless search for other drug-related items in the automobile after finding the glass pipe, since it provides probable cause that other incriminating evidence may be present.
I don't know if we ever talked about this on the air, though.
Hold on a second. The officer may not, however, search the vehicle indiscriminately. For example, an officer who sees an illegal weapon in plain view and subsequently finds a small packet of drugs in the motorist's wallet likely has overstepped his or her boundaries. Yes. The search following the discovery of the illegal weapon must be weapon-related. I'll say that again.
Unrelated.
The search following the discovery of the illegal weapon must be weapon-related, so it's unreasonable to search someone's wallet because it could not reasonably contain a weapon.
Yeah.
The plain view doctrine also extends to evidence that an officer or a drug-sniffing dog smells or hears after a traffic stop. Now, what were you going to say? I
was going to say another thing that most people don't know, the court cases, is DeBerry versus United States. Saying somebody has a weapon is not a reason to get stopped. And that sounds crazy, I know, in this day and age when people are shooting up places. But DeBerry, he had got out of jail, and supposedly somebody calls the police and says, "Hey, this guy has a T-shirt, but he has a weapon on him." They stop him and they say, "Hey, you got a weapon? We want to search." He's like, "No, don't. You can't search me," and he refuses to search. Well, of course, they find a weapon on him. He's a felon in weapon, but the bottom line is when he took it to the Supreme Court ruled having a weapon is not a reason for a stop. So I know that sounds counterintuitive to what we think, but yes, look up DeBerry versus the United States, and that was what the Supreme Court rendered. Like, no, saying somebody simply has a weapon is not a reason to stop somebody. It's not a reason for police. Now, I know a lot of black people lose their lives over that shit, but most of us don't know that court case, don't know that precedent. Excuse me.
Okay, so stop and frisk was a policing law that was created during the Giuliani era in New York City. Yes. And it was done to target black and Latino males. Yep. All right? Like, period, point blank. It wasn't until about 3 years ago that stop and frisk was considered a violation of civil rights and to be a racist policy.
You know, I thought it was after Giuliani. I thought it was wasn't it Dinkins? No, it was not Dinkins. That's before. I thought it was somebody else.
Was before. Okay. But the thing is, no, I'm sorry, Dinkins was after. But Giuliani was a known racist, though. I mean, he created stop and frisk, and he was an attorney. So, I mean, whatever, dude. But listen, here's how a frisk differs from a search. An officer is permitted to conduct a frisk in which an individual's clothing is patted down. If the officer has a reasonable suspicion that the driver or passengers are armed or otherwise pose a threat, the purpose of the frisk is to ensure the officer's safety.
Yes.
It is not considered a search within the meaning of the Fourth Amendment. However, an officer conducting a frisk for weapons may not manipulate objects in the pockets or otherwise investigate further.
That's crazy.
To do so would be considered a search. Listen, I've been frisked by cops before, and they're going through my pockets and like, what is that? What is that? I'm like, what are you looking for? Because if you're looking for a weapon, you can tell those aren't weapons. So this right here speaks to that point. I'll say it again. An officer conducting a frisk for weapons may not manipulate objects in pockets or otherwise investigate further. And they did that in my pants pockets.
Look, I literally never thought about this. I knew the stop and frisk was wrong because it was racist, but I never thought the frisk part is not a search. So that means the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply.
Nope.
They're using a term. A frisk means you're searching for a weapon, that you're making sure a person doesn't have a weapon on them. Excuse me, but that's still a search. It's a light search. But I never thought about why the Fourth Amendment didn't apply. Is because I'm not being invasive. I'm not going inside of pockets. The purpose of the frisk is to ensure the officer's safety. So a bag of weed in my pocket is not going to make you unsafe. It's not a weapon. It's not a weapon. But the thing is, you just doing black and brown people. So you try to make sure niggas don't have weapons. Is what you're saying? No, you are frisking black and brown people because you're trying to get a charge on them. Oh yeah, you're trying to trump up a charge too. No, I get it. But Kyle Lee, I never thought about the Fourth Amendment part to it. Like, just that term, that's fucked up. You're just using semantics, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, frisk. We're not searching you, we're frisking you. Yeah, so we're going to skirt the Fourth Amendment by calling it a frisk. Well, look, let me check your anus. You could have a weapon in your anus. Hold it up. Sally, where the gloves? Let me, right here. So that shit is so fucking offensive now. And then, it was always offensive. Excuse me. Right, but okay. So recently, there has been a new law that has changed the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, where if your home is within, I think it was 100 miles of a national border, federal agents can enter your home without a search warrant. What he's saying, the Fourth Amendment does not apply to these border places. So if you're on the border of Mexico and in America, if you live on Miami Beach, Miami Beach doesn't count. There's no border there. Yeah, the ocean. The ocean. That's a tough one because the border would be Mexico and Canada. You would think. Right. I'm just saying. But no. It's I've seen a map. No. I've seen the map. I know, but it also includes the states that are bordered by water. Oh wow. That's right. Some chicken shit, bro. That is some chicken shit. So basically, if you're on the edge of the country
If you're
How about
within 100 miles on the edge of the country, be it water or land,
Fourth Amendment does not apply?
nope.
So what about Hawaii? So that means that whole state you're fucked because that state barely 100 miles. I don't think it's 100 miles across.
Bingo.
So that whole state, that means that the Fourth Amendment does not apply because
Correct.
you're in a border. Your whole place is a border.
Correct.
That's fucked up.
Right.
But this is real. Y'all can look this shit up. I thought we all thought they were going to strike this shit down when it went to the Supreme Court, and no, the Supreme Court upheld this one. This is one of those that you guys need to look up for yourselves if you think. But
what I find interesting though is this shift back and forth, because when they passed that law, they then increase gun access. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And gun access has become more lax. And I'm like, what are they trying to do here? What's the play here?
Look, right now, I really think Democrats won't make it in next time, and I hope we got to hope. Look, this is bullshit and goes back and forth. But right now, one of the things I hate when these white guys that are kind of racist make sense. So the big deal.
Republicans.
I don't care if they're Republican or not. You can tell when somebody has that twinge of racism about it. But this guy is one of the guys I watch on YouTube, and he doesn't really go that way. But here's what he was saying. He said, look, I don't understand who the ATF is for. He said, literally, you have people right now, they're knocking on your door, bugging you about those. They're called a solvent trap. A solvent trap can be used as a silencer. So if you have a solvent trap, they'll knock on your door and tell you to submit your weapon and all this other kind of stuff. Or with me, the reason I'm worried is the arm brace. So the latest gun I bought, you saw it has an arm brace on it. Not a stock, but it has a collapsible arm brace. Right now, the federal government is telling us by December 18th, the arm brace will be illegal. So you need to register it. So they want my fingerprints.
Well, hold on a second. What is the argument for making that illegal? Why is that arm brace such a threat? Is it because hold on? Is it the functionality of such an appendage allows for extended shooting time?
It says it makes the gun easier to control and therefore more lethal.
What a chicken shit ass reason.
But I'm not done yet. So the point is, right now, it says there's an amnesty. So what they want me to do is register it and pay the tax stamp. I think it's like $50, $75, and they're going to take my fingerprints and my weapon is registered. And you know what? Once I register a weapon, you know what? I cannot take it over state lines. I can't do shit with it. It's so crazy how.
But you can have an assault rifle though.
You got to remember, this is about pistols. Nothing's wrong with the rifle. This is about pistols. So even on those AR pistols, if you notice, most of them don't have a thing on it.
Hey, man, the ones that do. Why don't you just buy a 3D printer and just make your own fucking armrest?
We'll discuss that later. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because the white dude pointed it out. Do you know what you've heard of the auto seer? That's the Glock switch. Those are the things they put on the Glocks to make them fully automatic. So there's these eighth graders all in Chicago showing that it's 6 guns. 4 of them got these switches on them, the Glock switches. He said, He said, these guys are kids. They don't know any better. I get that. But you see the videos, all these videos in Chicago of everybody in Chicago and everybody in Memphis has these things in their guns. How come the ATF ain't going and getting that?
Because they are delivering those weapons to those areas.
Well, actually, that's the big deal right now. Finally, a cop in Texas or Tennessee, I think it was Texas, got killed by that, and now the police are tripping on them. In fact, in Memphis when I was there, it was in Tennessee, but it wasn't in Memphis. Excuse me. There was a shipment of 500 of them that got intercepted. So I'm like, well, how do you order these damn things? I want to order one just to see, but I don't even own a Glock, you know that. But the thing is that these auto sears make your Glock fully automatic. And finally, a cop got killed by one. They were doing a raid or whatever, or they were going to this guy. Kid pulls a gun, hits the guy 32 times in the chest. Some crazy number, like 16 or 30 times. And of course he died.
Even with extended mag, it's not that. You don't have that many shots.
No. Glocks have 32. Hell, I got a 30 round Glock magazine. I use for one of my vehicles. Yeah.
That thing looks like a banana clip sticking out the bottom of that fucking thing.
I know. That's why I got it like that. I like them. But the point being is that you have these kids, these people, these criminals are ordering these things from China. China makes plenty of them, and they're coming into this country. But you have the audacity, and this is something else that we learned a long time ago. Me and you talked about off the air, is that they don't go after people who don't have money. The judicial system is funded by the people that are in it. So I've seen a guy who has like, you ever see a guy that has like 5 or 6 DUIs? Do you know what that is? Because he's paying. But the person that can't afford to pay, you get 1 DUI and they lock your ass up. That's what the reason white males get off is because it's racism, yeah. But a white male will keep paying the fines. But a poor black person, you get 1 DUI, they're gonna run you through the ringer. And that's no, it's a big part of it. That's how they generate money. The reason drugs aren't legal is because they generate money for the
listen,
judicial system.
I used to this. I'm gonna show you some white privilege. I used to work at this country club where Jimmy Carter was a member and Ted Turner was a member. I had a conversation with Ted Turner for about 5 minutes.
His dirty teeth.
Check it out, man. So these guys would get out of these cars and, I would jump in the car and I would go and park it. Dude, I'm going to say about 80% of them would pull up sauced. These are old-ass white dudes in their 60s and 70s and 80s.
Functioning alcoholics.
Functioning alcoholics. These motherfuckers always had a drink. And listen, these motherfuckers, they don't drink out of plastic cups. They drink out of glass.
Crystal.
These motherfuckers pull up in the wood grain Mercedes-Benz with crystal fucking glass of alcohol in the fucking console cup holder. And I'm like, ain't this a bitch? You know why? Because they ain't getting pulled over. Because they know everybody, and they got this. They know the secret handshakes, and they got the fucking Dakota rings, and these motherfuckers, they are fearless, dude. That's some fucking I didn't know I could do that, officer type shit.
Look, they got their bribe money in the glove box. Man, look, here's $1,200. You didn't see shit,
right?
Oh my god,
dude, yeah, that shit used to fucking blow my mind. I'm like, wow, they give 0 fucks. It's crazy. It was like, these motherfuckers running around the streets thinking they thugs. And like, y'all motherfuckers ain't no thugs, dog. Like, these motherfuckers are thugs.
Hey, Roscoe, you left off the most important part. This was daytime, huh? This was like
dude,
3 o'clock.
The hot summer day blazing.
11 in the morning. Tea time is at 12:45 sharp.
Dude. These motherfuckers. I remember one time I walked up in there, man, and the fucking maitre d' looked at me like I was fucking Nat Turner.
Like you killed his daughter, nigga.
Dude. Like, it was funny because it's some funny shit, dude. It's some funny ass shit. And the building wasn't even that fucking big, but it was downtown. It's downtown, and like, this is, hallowed ground to these motherfuckers. They got 2. They got one downtown. They got one like on the north side of town, next to on a golf course and shit. But it's a trip though, man. Like, yeah, that place, like working there, was a trip.
I think because of the jobs me and you've had, we've learned so much about
the other side. The other side.
I was gonna say just about America.
No, dude. Straight up, y'all. Like the jobs that I have had, I have seen the other side of reality. I have seen
both sides. Rich and poor.
I have seen the old dudes with the Masonic rings.
2 dudes.
You know what I'm saying? In strange looking buildings, in fucking office settings, you know what I'm saying? With like weird pagan plaques on the wall. And fucking Baphomet fucking symbols on their desk. Weird shit. I have been close to darkness many times.
Look, I think what people don't understand, there's so many Americas, it's ridiculous. I've seen both poor and rich America.
Stop. Hold your fire.
Pause.
Let's go back to this topic. We're gonna have that on another show.
Well, I mean,
no. I know you want to finish. Don't finish the thought.
No. The topic ain't changed because it's one of these things that we see more now. You got more white folks being arrested for doing shit that they've been doing for years. You know what I'm saying? And that's why they these white folks are so loose at the mouth when they get arrested. What the fuck is going on here? That's because they've done it 5 times. They probably killed 5 niggas and 3 Mexicans that we didn't know about. So now when they shoot one, all of a sudden it's like, this is preposterous. Harvey, you didn't arrest me last time.
No, I got away before. What do you mean this time?
What is this shit? Crocker crap?
Dude, yeah. There's just so much fuckery afoot, man. But let's get back to this matter, because a fraudulent entry involves deception or dishonesty to gain admission. So an unlawful entry is a felony. And having a felony offense makes it extremely, extremely difficult to legally re-enter the United States. A list of undocumented immigration civil offenses and violation consequences, they number in the dozens. Punishment for crossing the border illegally. Dude, in Canada does not fuck around. Dude, if you got like a bunch of DUIs, your ass cannot get into fucking Canada. They won't let you in. Nope. They'll turn you around at the border. Dude, they are so white up there. So white. they on some extra white people shit in Canada.
Hey, did you see that one with that child actor? They keep showing his child, but he killed his mom. But he was going to kill Trudeau, the president of Canada. I got to look his name up. Please forgive me, because I'm not prepared for this one. But apparently he killed his mom. He had planned a spree shooting, and he wanted to kill Trudeau. You ain't heard about that one?
Yeah.
Some crazy shit. Motherfuckers don't like Trudeau, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, the whole trucker convoy, showed how pissed off a lot of those Canadians were with, his bullshit.
Or the First Nation people that he forced to get shots and shit. Yeah, that was fucked up.
Mm-hmm. False imprisonment, also known as unlawful detention, occurs when a person is improperly restrained from leaving a location due to improper actions or the actions of another person. In broad terms, false imprisonment occurs when one person intentionally restricts the freedom of movement of another person without their consent. Now, wrongful termination, I know this is your area, or unlawful termination, is an employment law term that refers to when an employer fires an employee for illegal or unauthorized reasons. These are the reasons that may be considered unlawful. They could do this. If you violate federal law, if you violate state or local laws, if you go against public policy or breach the terms of an employment agreement.
What's public policy? Please forgive me. I don't know what that means. I'm asking. I know.
Public policy is it's on the charter of the company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and then, wrongful termination may also be known as wrongful dismissal or wrongful discharge. An employee's termination is wrongful if it violates state or federal laws or the employer's written or verbal stipulations for termination. Most states recognize at-will employment, which means neither the employer nor the employee needs a reason to end employment. Georgia is one of those. That's what you get when these right-to-work states.
Nebraska is the same way. They do not have to give a reason. Now, of course, if you file an EOC complaint, then they got to back it up, of course. But
yeah, but okay. So the thing about Georgia is that in a right-to-work state, they get away with murder. They get away with murder, dude, because these motherfuckers down here, man. I mean, it was bad like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It was a lot worse.
I remember in the 90s, that was a big deal where the unions kept trying to strike that shit down. Now, of course, these union motherfuckers that were picketing, they're complete assholes and they're obnoxious. Sometimes I think the reason the unions got a bad rap is because they were so obnoxious and they didn't have a PR department. You feel what I'm saying? Like literally, they're yelling and cussing, fuck this right to work. We don't want. And so you got some of these kids who are asking them to explain. They're like, what do you want? They're going off on people. I'm like, you're not conveying the message well. And that's why I think a lot of young people were turned off by unions.
Yes. And another reason is that Communism has
was
hid
huge.
within unions for decades.
Communism and socialism has hid within the whole Democratic Party, and that's been proven. You know, that was a big thing with the Red Scare, where they made it seem like the Red Scare was just some bullshit. Come to find out, the Democratic Party was infiltrated by communism way back then. That's documented. It's just the fact the reason we didn't push the issue is because we didn't want people to think communism was winning. I just saw a thing a few minutes ago about Paul Robeson and Jackie Robinson. They wanted Paul Robeson and Jackie Robinson to go to war because Robeson was the biggest black man in the country at the time, and he was a communist.
Yeah.
And they wanted, and Jackie said they were trying to subpoena him. He's like, "No, don't subpoena me. I'll show up." And basically, he doesn't diss Robeson like they thought they wanted him to. But he wasn't going to go to war with the guy. He's like, hey, I don't agree with that, and I do think that if we went to war with Russia, Black Americans would participate. That was the whole thing. But it's just the fact that...
Hold on, so they tried to turn Jackie Robinson against Paul Robeson?
That is correct.
That's some bullshit. That right there, that's some crack-ass shit right there.
It was during the World Series. I mean, he's about to go to the World Series. He leaves and goes to Washington to talk about the shit. But the point we're making when it comes to, how do I say this shit?
Unlawful?
When it comes to this unlawful stuff and what's legal, what's not, a lot of times black folks are so used to being misused and mistreated that we don't always know our rights.
And we just go along to get along.
Yes, we go along with shit that we shouldn't be going along with. That is a byproduct of not having rights or byproduct of being mistreated.
But it was the civil rights movement that caused a lot of people to wake up and fight for their rights.
Period. People clung to our struggle, and we had already started making grounds, and then they join in. But look, the reason, like I said, it's so important that people understand that, like I said, right now unions are getting a much better rap because people are finally falling out of favor and falling out of love with these rich motherfucking CEOs. You know,
right? But see, the benefit of a union is that you have somebody in your corner that fights for your rights.
Everybody gets paid. That's everybody gets benefits. Everybody gets paid.
Yes. The downside of unions is like they unnecessarily slow shit down and complicate things when you need to get work done. Sometimes.
Sometimes that's on purpose. Sometimes it's by accident.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just bureaucracy. You know.
And that's what hurts unions because they actually prevent people from making money by being too much of a stickler for the rules. But
hold it. There's another situation. I'm gonna give you an example of they try to blame it on unions. Remember in California, those ride share. You got all these people doing the ride share thing.
Okay. Come on now.
They forced them to get benefits, and all these politicians kept saying it's the unions. They're like, no, we weren't getting involved with that. We didn't pay for that.
Amazon.
Yes, they're going union now. But that brother almost lost his job. There's two brothers that pushed that almost lost their jobs messing with Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
But that's huge. Look, the reason we need unions is because these companies would not pay you. The railroad's been around for 150 years. They've had slaves.
But what you got to understand, though, I know somebody that worked in Amazon, and what he would tell me is that
it's terrible.
It's horrible because there's one restroom on each floor, and I think there's I think there's maybe 150 people on each floor, and there's only one restroom, and it's far from everybody's work area. Number two, there's 5G towers that surround that place, so the people that work there are always completely exhausted on their off days. For some reason, he said, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's some type of like cellular withdrawal type of thing. But he said on the days that he was off, all he would do was sleep. He said he had no energy at all to do anything. And he asked other people if they felt the same. He's like, man, I'm off day. All I do is just sleep. And I'm like, there's something there to that.
There's something scientific going on here. We just can't put our finger on it. Like I said, right now with all these victories, like I work for the railroad, we got our money. You got Kellogg's went on strike. They were working 70-hour work weeks.
John Deere.
John Deere, very good. They got there. So
And
I
it's
think
crazy. It's
now,
like, but yet the propaganda machine will have you thinking these companies are all American and they're all about American values. No, they're not.
look, the point I was making, the railroad did not pay its people. The reason we have unions in the railroad, they literally back in the 1800s weren't paying. What happened was you had like the vice president on this train going across see the whole country, and the workers like hijacked the train and held them for ransom for their wages. They didn't ask for extra money; they asked for what they were owed. And so, because of that, that's where unions were formed with the railroads, and then that's also the railroads were the first companies that had a living wage. So that's something that you got to understand, that when you have these big robber barons and all these people in charge, they were not paying a living wage. And then everybody discusses a living wage, but at the same time, you admire Bill Gates. These motherfuckers aren't known. Jeff Bezos aren't known for giving them. Amazon Prime, they only started paying recently, and they still work you to death. So, like I said, I know this is a stretch, but we got to make you guys understand that these government entities are not doing their jobs.
But this is the thing, though. But these companies, these governments, they're filled with people, and humans are flawed. And you can't write a law and expect it to be upheld all the time. You have to make people in their jobs enforce the law. This is a big misnomer people have about government and about corporations. You have to make them do their jobs all the time. You see, and it's not something that goes back and, well, once upon a time it was like this. No, because we have always fought for our rights. We will continue to fight for our rights because we are fighting against ourselves. We are fighting against humans in these jobs that get lazy and get greedy and become corrupt.
Just because something is normal, it doesn't make it just. There's a lot of unjust shit that goes on, and people love to say, well, that's not legal. Look, motherfucking slavery was legal. It's your job to fight against it.
Oh, but wait, though. Hold up. What is on the ballot now? What about the states that want to vote to keep slavery for the purpose of slave labor and prisoners?
In prison, was that the 18th Amendment that says literally slavery is abolished or whatever? No,
right.
13th. It says, I don't want to say it wrong.
But there's states that still have it, and 5 of them have voted to get rid of it. Nebraska is one of them. It was in the news recently.
But that's the crazy part. See, that tells us that we don't know what's on those books. We don't know what laws are out there.
But that's what I'm saying. Everybody's walking around sleepwalking thinking, well, the people at the state legislature care about us and we live in a democracy and this is great. No. No,
we don't participate, and we're too busy making money watching dirty movies and wanting to be on reality shows, and we don't actually govern ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, dude, the idea that people would allow slavery through a technicality opens the door for so much horrible shit. Do you understand? Like, that means that, okay, it's a sliding slope, slippery slope. And it's like, if you allow it through prison labor, then okay, cool. What about the farm that's right next to the prison? The guy has some people that owe him some money, and they're going to work off the money they owe him. Motherfucker, that's slavery.
Sharecropping, but hold it, you missed the most obvious one. You make rap music that makes everybody ultra violent, and every black person breaks the law, and now everybody is subject to slavery. Well, what they're doing is making black people slaves again because of their taste in music. Because I know that sounds messed up, but we all know about the prison industrial complex having meetings with record execs back in the early 90s. So, with that being the case, is because when that amendment's written, if you break the law, you can be a slave. So we got black people being slaves again. That's all it took. Just some music.
This is what I'm saying, man. But if you are lazy and you let things slide, this is what happens. This is what happens right under your nose because you are more concerned with thoughts, bots, and TikTok dances. You're not concerned with what really matters at the end of the day. And we somebody sent me this video. It was a YouTube video with Whoa Vicky, this white chick. She's a wigger. She want to be black. And she went to some party that was being held by Bella Thorne. And you saw that video that I sent you? Ren.
Yeah, I was watching it, but also I was I was watching something else. That's why I sent you some other stuff.
But listen, so, and she went to this party, and they were taking like pinpricks of their blood to let them into the party.
Yep.
And I'm like, no. See, this is what you allow people to do. Now, see, say what you will about that chick, but at least she had the sense to be like, no, I'm not doing that bullshit. Yeah, that's some devil worshiping bullshit. What do you need my blood for? So you can cast spells? Fuck you.
But that goes back to the whole going Hollywood that we talked about. Like you want to fit in so bad where you become a 12-year-old again, and even though this shit don't feel right, but you just do the shit.
Mm-hmm.
And but that's the same thing when it comes to these searches. You're afraid of the police. You want to get home quick. You're like, hey man, just search my car.
But she said some guy was murdered on that street that night.
Ooh.
So that there's a sacrifice.
Yes, that's a sacrifice. Yeah.
See, people don't think that, because it's Hollywood, everybody's on the up and up and they're just yes men. There's no dark arts being practiced. Man, don't be foolish. Like my pops say, don't be foolish. Of course they are. Of course they're. Or what they're going to do is they're going to dress it up and make it fashionable and make it attractive so that you're not paying attention. So you're watching the left hand, but you're not paying attention to what the right hand is doing. And it becomes a shell game of morality. But people let things slide because they're lazy. And you wind up in these situations when you're being exposed or you're part of an unlawful situation. And you're in this situation because you didn't use discernment or you didn't know the law in your area. And that's the whole point of this episode, is making you aware of what the local laws and federal laws are that protect you and how they can be rescinded, they can be changed, they can be pushed back. How slavery can technically come back if people, see, the Jews, they say never again. And you know what? I believe them when they say that, because those people
are in power.
They have power, but they're dead ass serious about that. You know what I'm saying? But black folks, on the other hand,
we don't say never again.
Mm-mm.
What we do is we're so worried about infringing on other people the way they infringe on us. We let people infringe on us. I know that sounds corny, but it happens all the time. We're so worried about, I don't want to be racist, or I don't want to be this, or sometimes we even victim blame, and we're the victim. When the shit happens, next thing you know, all your males from 1920 something are all in jail. So yeah, this is really important. We got to say not again, because those guys are slaves. They're working for free, or they get paid like 20 cents a day, some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And then they spend all their money on phone calls. Fucked up shit. Slavery.
Yeah. I mean, dude, that's why it's important to do your own research. Take some of the things that you hear on this show and go and look them up for yourselves. Don't believe everything that we're saying. Look it up yourself. All we do is present the data for you, the information that you can go and study on your own. And you'll find that it's legit, because we took the time to research it and before we even bring it to you. But especially when it comes to the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment, say what you will about the United States of America, but that Constitution and the Bill of Rights protects your ass from a lot of bullshit.
I think the other part is that when you recite it and you know it, or you know what it means or how it's applied, people look at you completely different. Like, I hate saying it. Look, being black, people automatically assume that you're ignorant. And then when you can recite some shit and you can apply it, like, nah, man, this is this, or this is that. Or they tell you, like, when you plead the fifth, that you say, I'm pleading the fifth, I do not want to speak. You have to say that. You can't just not speak. That's how a lot of black folks mess up. We think we know what we're talking, just not. By you not speaking and not invoking the fifth, you literally have admitted to a crime. So you got to speak up, like, look, I'm invoking the fifth. I'm not going to self-incriminate or talk about, that kind of thing. You got to say, I'm invoking the fifth.
4, 5, fifth.
Fifth. And let them know that. But how we mess up is we just sit there and be quiet and they can get a confession out you. But hey, if or you're nodding your head, they can say that. They can invoke a confession. You don't realize it. So you got to plead the fifth. You have to say like, hey, I'm not speaking on the Fifth Amendment, but thank you, or my Miranda rights, I'm going to invoke them.
Just
that
say,
kind of stuff.
Lawyer, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
listen, the whole reason the show, The First 48, exists is because
it taught you.
because these people are a bunch of snitches, and they never ask for the lawyer. But you notice what happens whenever they do, that segment is
pissed.
over. That cop gets pissed because that segment is over.
Are you sure you want a lawyer? I'm only trying to help you. Motherfucker, you help me.
If you was trying to help me, why the fuck am I in here?
Yeah. If you trying to help me, you would have made sure that I didn't turn into this person. Fuck you. You would have arrested the motherfucker that robbed me at 7. And then I wouldn't be here now.
Yeah.
Y'all niggas ain't solving crimes. Look, what my brother's trying to tell you is that the reason we do the research is because we know a lot of general people don't know the stuff, or that they're afraid when they're in a situation to actually apply it. See, I had a talk with somebody. I pissed them off. I told them, you're intelligent, but you're not smart. What does that mean? Intelligence is
you're good at regurgitating things that you have read, but you lack the discernment and the lateral thinking to connect dots.
Apply it. You cannot actually use what you've been taught. It's like the guy that knows karate or jujitsu, but he gets in a fight and can't use it.
Nothing.
That shit,
because he's got dojo brain, and all he can only think about it in those terms when it comes to fighting.
That's what I told somebody else before, and again, they get pissed at me. I said, the reason you're not good is you only can fight somebody who does the same art as you. And they got mad at me. I said, no. I said, you can't see that standing up you can do the same thing that you can do on your back. You literally can't see it. I said, you only can fight somebody who's doing the same art as you. But when you're in a street fight, I don't know if they're going to throw rocks, kick me in the nuts, or bite.
Exactly. You can put a person in a triangle choke standing up.
That's my point. But like I said, we're just trying to give you guys the tools to be better Americans or be better adults, better people, and not get fucked over. Because we get fucked over so much that we kind of get used to it and we start bending over.
But this is the deal, though. Like, for all the things that we talk about that are considered deep and fringe,
profound,
and
out there,
this is very tangible. Okay, you can even use the word conspiracy theory for these things because these are laws.
Yeah, you can look this up. Look, I'm gonna give an example of something that me and you talk about every day. We talk about, I see stuff in the sky. You make fun of me, whether it's chemtrails or tests, whatever. But there's something I want to bring to your attention. How come you never see them on the weekend? How come you never see those things on the weekend? I don't see launches on the weekend. I don't see chemtrails on the weekend. Just pay attention. So if you think
because the aliens get Saturday and Sunday off, and they want to go get on the jet skis, man.
Yeah, they got a union. But that should let you know that there's something funny going on when you don't see those things on the weekend.
So none of those vertical launches that go straight up into space, you don't see none of them on Saturday.
They do not happen on Saturday and Sunday.
Wow.
I knew that would blow your mind because
this is the sound of a brain being blown.
I wanted to test it, and if you pay attention, even when you check the stuff I send you, it's always during the week. Those pictures, those are not the weekend. You can just verify if I'm wrong because the dates.
That's how you know it's the government.
Yeah, or it's somebody doing something because them niggas need an off day.
2 of them.
Look, we just want y'all to think and know that when the fix is in, there's something there to let you know. I remember they were talking about how to prove there's a fix. Sumo wrestling. Sumo wrestling is one of these things that can't be fixed. Pay attention to the numbers. And when you look at the numbers, you recognize the fix is in. The point I'm making is that if you say the right thing, why is that cop backing off? Because he just knew, or she just knew that you didn't know that. They just knew that they were about to infringe on your rights. And then all of a sudden wait a minute. You're not about to sit here and play with me. Look, I'm not putting my cigarette out, and I'm aggressive. Because you see these white folks do it all the time. You see white folks getting cops' face, and nothing happens. Black folks getting cops' face, they die by accident. Like Richard Pryor said, nigga, ain't that many accidents in the world?
Because they see your life as being less than.
because they know that there's no repercussions.
Of
That's why these
killing
cops
your
are wigging.
ass.
Yeah, that's why these cops are wigging out when all of a sudden they start getting charged with murder, first and second degree murder for a traffic stop.
That's right. He was like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be protected from shit like this. Not
Exactly.
anymore. It's like that scene in Constantine at the end where Gabriel tries to fucking hit Constantine. He's like,
Yeah.
looks like, oh no, tries to hit the devil. And devil's
Yeah.
like, looks like somebody doesn't have your back anymore.
Anymore. Look, we just want y'all. We ain't saying wake up because I don't like the whole woke term, but we just need you to be more aware of what's going on around you, and there are things in place to protect you, whether you're aware of them or not. So you got to be aware of them because the person who you're being protected from, the police and the government, they're not going to make you aware of it. They're not going to tell you about it.
Because, as I said earlier, they're people. They're regular, flawed humans that you have to hold their feet to the fire and make them do their jobs.
Cool.
You know, I mean, it's like they say the blood of patriots must be renewed all the time. You know,
That's some sick shit, but it's true. People die for this shit, and just so you can fucking swipe left and shit. So please,
be aware of all that unlawful nonsense that's out there and learn how to protect yourselves against it. That's all I got. We out. Peace.
holla back.